we're extended the Hustlers Playbook now. So we'll be in a conversation on the Hustlers Playbook with Chef Moses Moloi, who's cooked up a story of ambition, determination, and extraordinary talent. From humble beginnings to being named one of the best chefs in South Africa, his journey is nothing short of inspiring. And tonight on our Hustlers Playbook, we take a page from Chef Moses Moloi's playbook to uncover the ingredients behind his incredible success and how he's spicing up the culinary business one dish at a time. And on that note, Chef Moses, a very good evening. So good to have you with us.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. And yourself?
I'm very good. It's been a long day, I was cooking the whole day, so
yeah.
Working on some dishes at the restaurant, so Thank you for inviting me here. Very honored and blessed to be here. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. And I guess maybe on that note, let's probably start with the story of, how you decided that this is what you want to do, and, making interesting and flavorful dishes is what you want to do.
The story, where do I even start? First and foremost, I never wanted to become a chef. That's where it needs to start. I love mechanical engineering. That's always been my love from a young age. I love everything that has to do with F1, cars, mechanical, and everything. But at a point in time, I needed to fall back to something that was deep within, which is the inspiration comes from my mom and my grandmother. So that's where everything came about, and then just the stories that they used to share back in the days when I was young, so that's where it all started.
Now I'm curious to know, because it was this pivot from mechanical engineering, and you say that you still love cars though, is that still in your future? Maybe when you feel like you've made the best dish out there?
Maybe not, Now I just appreciate the beautiful, the mechanics, that's the science behind the engineering of vehicles and so forth, but I don't think I'll ever get into that now. So I found something that has had brought a lot of purpose to my life, and I never thought actually cooking would get me to where I am today. So it was something that I just tried because of the upbringing from my family.
Yeah. And let's get into that pursuit then of, cooking. And as you point out, family is really what motivated you to get into that.
Yeah.
You've worked in some of the, major restaurants.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that journey. Give us maybe a glimpse.
The story is too long. So obviously coming from a township called Besele in Free State, I studied in Bloem. And then I got an opportunity to then study in the Western Cape, Hermanus, then worked my way to the US and back in Cape Town, where I spent a lot of time with my mentor, Chef Peter Tempelhoff. At the time, it was the greenhouse. And then years later, I was able to work at Fane as a head chef. And at Fane is one of the best, still one of the best restaurants in the country, which then helped me, I think, become the chef that I am today, because we were pushing boundaries. And whilst there, the restaurant was able to as a head chef, it was be able to be ranked number 92 in the world. So that was like the big highlight. And also, I think it opened many doors, having to have held that ship and then being a head chef there. So.
Now, I'm curious to know, given then, as you point out that you worked at Fane Restaurant, very prestigious restaurant, and it must take a bit of grit to work at a restaurant like Fane. Talk to us about what it takes then.
Look, you need a lot of discipline, you need a lot of discipline, and I'm very strict in what I do. So you have to, I know a lot of people always say you have to have the passion, I always think of when I graduated, there was about 20 plus students in my year. There's about 2 of them left. So if you don't have the right determination, the right passion to pursue this, within the amount of years that I've been, a lot of people fall off, and because it's hard. It's the hours are long, and it's almost like a military army vibes in the kitchen. Now it's a bit easier with we've got what you call the 2Ks. They're a bit. You have to nurture them differently than how we were back in the day. You need to have the right passion, and you need to have clear goals and have a direction of where you want to be. So this was what I did from a very young age. I knew what I wanted to achieve. And then I set my plans, and I always have this thing. I've read books and watched videos of The Secret. So you have to have this vision board. And I used to see myself owning restaurants, doing these things when I was a lighty. And then you just, every time there's a bit of a obstacle, you always look at that, and then that keeps you going.
Yeah.
That has kept me going for a long, long time, yeah.
Because I actually wanted to, ask you about that, what kept you going through some of the challenges that you might face, because becoming the head chef at Fane, that's not an easy task.
Yeah, it's not easy at all.
Yeah, certainly there's going to be some setbacks
there.
Yeah.
Just to also answer on that, when I was a bit younger, you would have those times where your chefs, the head chefs or executive chefs, would like constantly be pushing you, and then there would be times where you want to like just cry and just give up on everything. And then I'd call my mom, mom would be like, dude, this is all that you wanted to do. Now that you have an opportunity, there's no way you can actually quit. Then you go back to that same vision board, you see yourself doing that, and that kept me going, because there were times when I just wanted to throw in the towel and just give up,
Yeah.
But the love and the passion, determination is what I think has kept me 15 years now doing it. So
Yeah.
Loving it. It's a blessing.
And I want to know then, on that note, how do you keep the creativity under pressure? Because it's one thing to say you want to do this for the rest of your life. And then, as you point out, when the pressure kicks in, it's another thing.
From the creativity, I don't like comfort zone. Whenever we've got a menu, I literally just changed the menu not long ago. Whenever we've been doing something for too long, I like to change it. Last year I was in Mexico talking to like some of the best chefs in the world at an award ceremony there, and I asked them how do they stay ahead of the game, and they were just saying cook who you are and where you're from. And that has, since then, that's like last year, since then it's just given me the different perspective of who we are as African and as black chefs. And if you go through my menus, I'm always talking about cooking, about food that we come from, things that you always, many of my clients, they relate to, the creativity. I don't like being stagnant, so I always look at what's been done in Europe, maybe in Cape Town, and we find ways to incorporate our history as black South Africans through that. And then I've learned the right cooking techniques that will also helps us actually elevate some of our dishes to the standard where you would have a Michelin star, but having something as simple like a jelly and custard. That's one of my desserts at Gigi. Why? Because of the story that it comes through from my mom on Sunday, coming from church and all that. There's a lot of the dishes that have a nice storyline to it. So, and I get my younger chefs to also bring something from their corners, because we've got chefs from all over South Africa at the restaurant.
Jelly and custard, that's a fan favorite here in South Africa. Definitely.
Oh no, it moves. I have got a few dishes there that people come back. I mean, simple things like beef tongue, those are things that I grew up eating. And then what we've done there, we got a grilled beef tongue which we sous vide, and then we grill it, and then we pair it with onion purees and sampan beans, chakalakas, and then these are some of the flavors that you have. Now we just had Easter, and our menus was basically 7 colors, but we just elevated it. So many of the clients are asking for some of those dishes to be on the main menu, but I just wanted to keep it special for the Easter. So creativity, coming back to your answer, is very key to always trying to stay ahead of the game. You always have to be ahead of the game.
I'm definitely salivating as
must
you
come through to Gigi. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
16 minutes now past 7 o'clock on Power Business. We're in conversation with Chef Moses Moloi, co-founder and executive chef at Gigi Restaurant. He's joining us this evening for our Hustlers Playbook feature. If you have any questions or want to talk to our guests this evening, the number to dial 0861 987 000, or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 083 303 7093. Now, Chef Moses, I want to know from you then, as someone who blends sort of contemporary South African flavors with global influences, maybe what defines South African cuisine for you?
You see, South Africa, I always feel like South Africa is like a big melting pot. We've got different cultures within the country, and what I've always tried to do is, like, for a simple thing like making your pap. Many people at home cook it with just water. What do we do at the restaurant? We cook it with some milk, we got some cream, we add some nice truffle oil, and we finish it with some parmesan. So it's basically taking some of those ingredients and techniques that I've learned over my time as being a chef to elevate what is just as simple as organic as some of the ingredients we work with, just to take it to that level. So that's just one example that I can mention.
I want to know, is a lot of it being, technical, or does it sort of require a blend of both the technical and the creativity? Does one need to be in more?
You've got to know you have to have both, but also with the experience that I've acquired, a palate. We need. That's one thing that a lot of people are saying is like, sometimes I can just fix an ordinary, maybe terrible dish. Because of my palate, I know, maybe this needs a bit of acid, that's needs a bit of salt, maybe sugar here. It takes a lot to require what a dish needs just to take it there. Maybe it needs a bit of crunch, needs a different texture of puree or something on there. So that is something that I've been very fortunate to have learned from my mentors. Yeah.
I'm definitely taking some tips here. I'm definitely not the best.
Come through and taste the food. You won't. Bring the whole station.
Well, then, we're going to take you up on that offer.
Please come through.
Now, let's turn our focus then to some of the WhatsApp messages coming through. We've got a WhatsApp message now from Glenn in Winchester. Says, how do you balance being creative in the kitchen with the pressure of running a business and keeping the doors open?
Yeah. So one thing that I've learned since opening this restaurant with my business partner is food has become almost like a percentage of the business. Before this, as a head chef, all you focus on food. You don't worry about the costs that come with everything. But now it's always like the stresses of making sure that the customers are happy, making sure your suppliers are happy, learning to pay and how to run businesses, salaries. That's something that was also a difficult learning curve in our first month of operating, because we went through some hectic times. But I've learned from the business operations what to do or what not to do. But you have to always make sure that you prioritize, mainly for me, staff, because happy staff will make sure that customers are happy. Yeah, and they will come back.
Yeah, certainly. Your customers are your biggest.
That's the bread and butter.
Yeah,
that's our bread and butter. If the bread and butter is not happy, then I cannot pay salaries. So then it becomes cannot pay rent and so forth. So those are some of the things that I never used to worry about before becoming co-owner of the shop, but now you always have to make sure that you have rent money. The list is long, to make sure that the lights are sorted at the end of the month.
Let's take one more message then from the WhatsApp line. This one from Lerato in Maboneng, saying, we often hear the highlights, but I'd love to know what lesson you had to learn the hard way. What's one thing you wish someone had told you before launching your own venture? Oh, that's a tough one.
I have to think about that one properly.
I can imagine there's quite a few dynamics.
There's a lot of that moving parts in the business. Also, like, for example, trying to teach people, or maybe making people see a vision has always been a difficult part. Like a lot of people ask me what's the most difficult part of running a business, and I always honestly say it's the staff. Staff is the most, for me personally, difficult part of running a business, because unfortunately, not just at the restaurant, just in general, from other business friends and partners that I know of, is that sometimes your staff is the same people that steal from you sometimes, and you're trying to look after them, and they, trying to make them see your vision is also difficult. But with time, with the right recruitment, another one is recruitment. I wish I had known the importance of recruitment. And I remember my mentor telling us recruitment is such an important aspect, because you can sleep at night knowing that you've got the right people with the right responsibilities in the right position. So those two things have been very, very difficult. But now at the point where we are now, the business is running really smooth. There's obstacles here and there, but we've got the right people. I'm here. The fact that I'm here, they can still cook and make sure that the business operates accordingly. Yeah.
I want to, turning back then to the dishes, I want to know if there was maybe one dish where your creativity or really paid off, and you were happy about that one moment there, when you think about the many dishes.
I've got thousands and thousands of dishes. But there's one dish that's very special to me, and it comes back to the story when I said when I went to Mexico, meeting these like top chefs in the world that are ranked very high. So it was just basically they said, "Cook who you are and where you're from." So I looked at where I'm from and some of the dishes that my mom used to make, and there's one that a lot of the people at the clients that come through at Gigi's called. It's like the Gigi signature oxtail. So that dish basically, my mom used to go to like a butchery in Botshabelo, and then she would then go to butcher, get the beef bones, and then on the same street buy some cabbage, tomatoes, and at home she'll make a pap. So instead of using the beef bones, we use oxtail, and we make a nice little tomato gravy, and then like a nice little sautéed cabbage with the pap that has the milk, cream, and parmesan and truffle oil. So my mom used to make a nice bone stew back in the day. So that dish, she used to make it a lot, especially in January when times were tough. And every time I explained that to the customers, they relate to that, having that bone stew with a bit of Norox. You know, back in the day we used to Norox and bones out. So that used to be, that's the main story behind the dish. And then once I did that and saw that the people are loving this, and I was like, you know what? The advice that I got, like, cook who you are and where you're from, and just be proud of it. Because sometimes we always cook these European dishes that you don't really relate to, or you just get it from there. And I'm getting a lot of customers that are coming from Europe and local. They're like, this is so nice to taste something that is from the area and not another European dish that people are trying to remake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly.
So yeah, like that specific dish has just made me actually appreciate who we are and where we're from. With the skill, we're elevating. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I want to touch also on your accolades then, because you have a number of accolades. And maybe take us through what you think is your greatest achievement, or what feels to you as your greatest achievement.
Like, and then I think this is, and I've been talking to a lot of people about this. I've got about almost 20 different awards, but this one was like the one that actually made me realize like where I am and how good God is, you know. So it was the one where I was ranked 85th in the world, and at the time I was the only African to be on that list, and it made me realize like how is it possible that a guy from a township as Botshabelo as it is to be ranked amongst so many, not even like in South Africa, like again in the world 85th and Africa number 1. That is like the biggest milestone ever that I would, out of many of them that are there.
Yeah, and as you point that out then, you know, being one of the, like the only few African on that, maybe what's your view then, you know, as someone who's made international dishes, what do you think is the sort of international scene's view of South African culinary?
Look, South African culinary, obviously on the continent, South Africa has some of the best chefs in the country, some of the best foods, and we are definitely on the right direction. With what we're creating, especially I see a lot of chefs down in the Cape. They're pushing hard, so that's something for many of the young aspiring chefs can look up to. You know what I mean? Like we are trying to push, you know, from an African point of view.
What do you think needs to be done then to sort of put, or you know, highlight then South African culinary on the global stage?
You know, I know a few people that are like judges from like the 50 best. We're just like a third world country, you know. So one thing that, for example, why we don't have Michelin stars as a continent, we're always deemed as a third world country. So we would have to have more of the fine dining restaurants accessible to the world. Unfortunately, at the moment, you have to go to Cape Town, and Joburg is slowly catching up. But I always believe, for example, what we do at Gigi, it's scrapping that fine dining feel about it. The fine dining restaurants are probably cooking to a 1%. Not everyone can afford to go to a fine dining restaurant. So what Joburg has in its advantage is that we're cooking for the mass majority. You know, if you come to Gigi, I have breakfast, I have lunch, I have dinner, and I have a tasty menu which is exclusive to 10 people. But you want to make sure that you cook to a broader people, and I think that is for us as South African, that's the way to go, instead of that 1% that can and cannot afford, you know.
Now you're a chef with over 20 awards, about 20 awards, as you point out. You also, you know, the a co-owner, co-founder at
Yeah.
Gigi restaurant.
Yeah.
That's a lot on your plate. You deal with the operational side of the business
Yeah.
as well as the culinary side.
Yeah.
How do you avoid burnout? How do you sort of balance everything?
My previous chef that I worked under, Chef David Hicks, he gave me some good advice. You just have to have a balance. You know, I'm not gonna bury myself under this business and not have a life outside. I've learned that's where it comes with the recruitment part. Once if you can recruit the right people, as a business owner, I can also take some time off. You know, I need to spend time with my family. So this is having to open the restaurant has given me time to also balance having time to spend time with my wife, my daughter, and also I'm a cyclist, so I spend a lot of time riding my bike. It's important. You have to have a balance. Back in the day, chefs used to bury themselves in the restaurants. Next thing you hear, this person has passed away or fatigue. I mean, I've been to ICU because of the amount of work that I've put myself under.
Sure.
But now health is important. You know, I've got a daughter, I've got a beautiful wife, and I have to look after them, and then for the longevity. So since I've been to ICU, I make sure that I health first, and then the rest can follow. If it's meant to be like business success, it will be, accordingly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I'm sure that was a real wake-up call.
Oh,
but, yeah.
You know, at that moment, you just think about my daughter. At the time she was 2 years old, and you start thinking about the wife and everything, and then like the business is the last thing that comes to my mind. At the moment, you think about family and all of that. So I don't want that. So health is important. Health is very, very important. So the balance, that's one thing I would also tell a lot of people. You have to balance. You have to find a balance. Doesn't matter how busy you are. We're all busy with different jobs and different things to do, but you have to have a balance.
In closing then, what's next for Chef Moses then, both personally and in your business ventures or career-wise?
For business ventures, my business partner and I, we've been presented with a few sites. God willing, we can open, plans are in already. It's just time. Then we can open one more restaurant. And then, and on a personal note, I'm enjoying my bike riding. So yeah, I got some races that are coming up that I'm doing. So yeah.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Chef Moses, thank you so much for coming in this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right. That was Chef Moses Moloi, co-founder and executive chef at Gigi Restaurant, joining us for Hus's Playbook this evening. An extended version of the feature, and a good one, a good start, of course, that engaging conversation there.